chapter has been called the hard sayings chapter, Luke chapter 12, and largely because in it, Jesus is really like, do you guys ever have like a knot in your neck, like a pain point, and like if somebody presses on it, it like sends pain all the way through your body? It's like this weird, or if you ever hit your elbow in a weird spot and it like hits your funny bone and it's like, I can't use my hand anymore. That's basically what Jesus is doing here in this hard section. Is he's actually forcing you to wrestle with the question of whether or not you treasure the right things or not. Are you actually treasuring God, His Word, what His Spirit can do in your life? Are you treasuring those things? Are you following after? Are you valuing other things in life? Security, family, friends, whatever, more so than those things. And so our chapter title, Treasuring, is dealing with that very fact. The very essence of whether or not you treasure Him above everything else. Discipleship, following Jesus, will cost you everything. Now, if you guys remember, we have all these. What's the key to learning?
Repetition.
And what's repetition?
Key to learning.
Very good. Hoping. Why hoping? Let's get a running start here. Hoping. What's the point of Luke? Certainty. So when we talk about hoping,
We're certainly hoping.
hoping,
Whoa.
you guys remember?
For like a...
Yeah, this is all the hoping for Jesus, hoping for the Messiah. Then planning starts happening. What happens in planning? Exactly. Jesus is born. He goes to the temple. Everything's great and awesome. Good. Preparing.
John and baptism.
Yeah, John the baptism. We actually have John preparing the way for the Lord. He's talking about how Jesus is going to come. He's going to baptize you with the Spirit or with fire. It's going to be bad if you're not with Him. 4, preaching. You guys remember preaching?
He was preaching with authority, and Pharisees didn't like it.
Yeah, preaching with authority. The reason Jesus came was to proclaim the good news, right? You guys remember this? He didn't come to heal people. He didn't come to, topple governments. He didn't do any of that stuff. He came to preach the good news and to proclaim the news of God, that you can be free from your sins. Chapter 5, cleansing. What are the things that Jesus cleanse is? Huh?
Sins, diseases, and law.
That's right. Sin, diseases, law, right? He actually tells somebody, your sins are forgiven. That's something only God can do. And Jesus is like, uh-huh. So, he cleanses sin. He cleanses people who actually have, like, maladies. You're talking about, like, your leprosy and your lameness, right? Even me. Jesus can heal my lameness. Never thought it was possible, but true miracle. And then he cleanses the law, right? He cleanses the law. He actually takes what they are misunderstanding and he says, you guys are misapplying the law. Here's how you actually should be using the law, because the law was made as a guide, as a teacher, to help you grow towards holiness, not to oppress you, right? Cleansings. Foundations?
The house and the sand on the rock.
The house and the sand on the rock, exactly. Well, you didn't say it loud enough. All I heard was quoting from Marin. So you build the house upon the rock, right? These are all his core teachings. You must build your house upon the rock. If you have a proper foundation, you can build the rest of the house. Realization, chapter 7. Huh?
Speaking in parables and only those of them.
That's refining.
So close, Marin.
Realization
Ah.
is realizing that he's the real thing.
Realizing that he's the real deal, right? People are starting to figure out, oh, this guy's the guy, right? John the Baptist is like, are you actually the guy? And he's like, well, you tell me. Lame are being walked now, blind are being seen now, right? Like, these are all big things that are happening. So you tell me, is that actually, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, then it's probably a duck, right? If I walk like a Messiah, if I talk like a Messiah, I'm probably the
Jesus.
refining Marin.
You can't just like it, but I'm
What?
not sure that
Speaking in parables.
Speaking in parables, and he did that to paint really pretty word pictures so that way people would understand what he says a whole lot better, right? No, why does he speak in parables?
So
So
they
I
won't
want to
understand it, and only true believers will follow.
Boom! So he's refining, he's sifting out, he's getting rid, he's distilling all the people who are just there for food, right? Pivotal.
everything around Jesus is changing, but he isn't.
Jesus is starting to show, hey, I'm going to feed the 5,000. Biggest miracle I could ever do. But guess what? You guys don't actually like me. You just like the things that I do for you, right? In John, we see this as well, where they literally just come for the bread. And Jesus calls them out on it. You came so that you could get a free meal. Is that a reason to follow Jesus? No. Pivotal. Reorient.
We're prioritizing the wrong things. And Jesus is reorienting our views.
Oh, I thought you were saying what about that being in chapter 9. You're saying that for
Pointing at
chapter 10.
reorient.
Sorry. You're right. Leah is right. So I doth declare. Reorient is correct, right? You are looking towards the wrong things. You're going in the wrong direction. We need to reorient you towards Christ, towards what he says, that you can understand what's going on, right? So he does that with the law. He calls them a bunch of cups that have the outside dirty, but on the inside they are.
Wait, what?
Sorry, on the outside they're getting cleaned, but on the inside they're full of
Hypocrisy.
hypocrisy. Very good. And so he warns them to not be hypocritical, not to say one thing but then do another, not to say these are the rules for you, but for me they're different, right? That's hypocrisy. Is just real clarification. If I tell you guys that stealing is wrong, and then you guys catch me stealing, that would be hypocrisy, yes?
Yeah.
What if I was really sorry that I stole? Am I still a hypocrite?
Yes.
No, actually. If I don't attain to my own standard, that's different from saying the standard doesn't apply to me. If I excused my stealing and said, well, you guys can't steal, but I'm allowed to steal, that's hypocrisy. You guys see what I'm saying? But if I say, you're right, I did steal, I'm so sorry, I didn't live up to my own standard, that's not hypocrisy. That's just me failing to live up to my own standard. Fair? You'll see this all the time, people calling religious leaders hypocrites because they said one thing but they fell into sin. That's different than being a hypocrite. Hypocrite would be excusing your own sin. Fair? Yes? Just wanted to clarify. Glad I did. We're in chapter 12. Chapter 12 is all about treasuring, right? So we had, in the beginning of this chapter, we have more warnings to not be full of the leaven of the Pharisee, not to be hypocrites, and that we need to have no fear. And that drove us into acknowledging Christ before men, where we actually tell others about Jesus that we're not ashamed of him, because if we are ashamed of him, he's going to be ashamed of us, and that's going to be bad. And it really tells you whether or not you are treasuring him or treasuring your friends, right? If I'm treasuring my friends, I don't want them to be, mad at me. I don't want them to be worried that I have, Jesus with me. Oh no. But if I value and treasure Jesus, then I'm going to, of course, tell my friends. If they get mad at me, I value Jesus more. So why wouldn't I tell others about him, right? That goes into the parable of the rich fool. You guys remember this? I have all this food, and I'm not going to give any of it away. Instead, I'm going to store it up in barns that I've freshly made. Ooh, these are so nice barns. Now I can just kick back, relax, no cares in the world. And then he dies that night, right? What an idiot, right? That's in the original Greek. Do not be anxious is next, right? We took a whole section 2 weeks ago to talk about not being anxious. Because if we are anxious, what does it mean?
Sinning.
We're sinning, right? If we are holding on to this anxiety, if we are not letting it go, it shows that we value something more than God. We misunderstand his divine abilities, his divine fatherhood, his divine attributes as the one in control of all things. And instead, we're holding on to these situations or these possessions, whatever it might be, more so than him, rather than just letting it go. Right? You guys see what the point there was? Good. By the way, you guys will hear future messages on Do Not Be Anxious. Every time they are helpful. Because if you are not anxious now, there might become a time where you are anxious in the future. If I can be honest, this is the most anxious I've been in my entire life with starting a business. And things are going okay. And why? Because God is very good.
Wait, you started this business?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm an owner in it, so, but Yeah, it's like stressful, but God is good. So we lose our house, we end up on the street. Cardboard's comfy, right?
Got room at my house.
We have
Hey.
an extra 80.
There you go. That's actually a good pastor friend of mine, actually my junior high leader. He told me this when Holly and I were about to get married, because I was really I don't know if we should, because we're poor and we're going to end up on the street or living in a car. And he's like, Winston, you go to a church. You will never be on the street. You will literally never be on the street. There are houses available. You will never be on the street. And I'm like, that's true. So there are plenty of couches out there. We'll be fine. Anyway, point being, we'll be fine. God has it. Everything's okay. I just keep on holding on to it. I just got to keep letting go. And then I hold on to it, and I got to let it go. And then 2 a.m. rolls around, and I start getting in my own head, and I just let it go. And it's an ongoing struggle. So, be anxious about nothing. Accept your business is what it says.
Oh, makes sense.
You should start a business then.
We're in verse 35. After talking about this is in the same breath, right? This is all in the same breath. When he's talking to the Pharisees, saying, woe to them, this is all the same breath, all the same sayings. And he says, stay dressed for action, verse 35. Stay dressed for action. What does that mean? Stay dressed for action.
Fine armor of God.
Similar, yeah. This is actually a military term, okay? When it says stay dressed for action, he's saying you cannot retire to your quarters and just kind of rest and relax and be okay. He's saying you need to stay with your armor on. And in fact, later on we'll talk about this. Talks about girding yourself. That literally means, you used to wear kind of a skirt back then, like a long robe. This girding yourself literally means taking that and hiking it up so you're basically wearing shorts. That way you can run faster and you can ski better, right? Just like they would in ancient Near East, right? And do dodgeball, right? But with spears and swords and rocks and stuff. So, stay.
Ultra safe.
There you go. Stay dressed for action. I want to set this stage very well. He is using a military term. Stay dressed for action, right? And keep your lamps burning. And be like men who are waiting for their masters to come home from the wedding feast. Girls, are they asking you to be a man there? No, right? Be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast, right? It's not saying be a man, right? Okay. Listen to this parable. Listen carefully to this parable, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read it to you guys, and you guys are going to explain it to me. Got it?
Yes.
Yes? Good exercise? Grace, Whitney, Kylie? Yes? Great. Be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast, so that they may open the door to him at once when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will dress himself for service and have them recline at table, and he will come and serve them. If he comes in the second watch or in the third and finds them awake, blessed are those servants. But know this, that if the master of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have left his house to be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Okay, principal characters. Here's how we interpret parables. Name the characters. Thaddeus.
Servant.
Master. Servant.
Thief.
Huh?
Thief.
Thief. Okay, great. All we got to do is find out who these people are pointing to, right? Master.
Jesus.
Very good. How do we know that? Huh?
It's kind of obvious.
Because he says when you have to be ready for the master when he comes.
Yep. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
if you're not, you're not going to be taken either.
Yeah. Yeah. So, pretty clearly, that's Jesus. The servant is who?
People.
Specifically, yeah. Well,
Believers.
actually, us. No, actually. I'll go into that in a second. Thief. Satan.
Sin.
Probably, actually. Which is weird. Why? When do we expect the master to come back?
We don't.
We don't, right? But it would most likely be at the end of time, right? Or at the end of the world, right? He's coming to reclaim the earth. He's coming to reclaim the Christians, reclaim the faithful, reclaim his church, right?
Is Jesus gonna fix global warming then?
Technically, he's going to make it a whole lot worse.
Darn it.
What?
Because he's going to away the earth. So it's going to be global warming, but it's going to be like instantaneous.
No, all icebergs.
But we're gonna get to do one.
Okay, wins.
It's a joke. All right. Servant, thief, Satan. If the master knows that the thief is coming, he is not going to leave the house. Think about that in eschatological, end-timesy language. Jesus is saying if he knew when the thief was coming back, Satan was coming back, he wouldn't have left the house. That's weird, right? If we're thinking about it in end-timesy sort of views. Anybody else weirded out by that? Or is it just me? Grace is. Marin is. Okay. Leah's not sure. She's skeptical. Jesse's elbow is hurting. Okay. This is weird because it sure seems like he's talking about this in an end times fashion. And I think the point here is not thinking about this last section in an end times way. Not even thinking about this section as a whole in an end times way. Because guess what? Have the servants been the same servants throughout the past 2,000 years?
No.
No. Some servants have died, some have not. And I think the point here is, hey, how do you interpret a parable? Well, how do you should you do when you do a parable?
Think about it.
Yeah, get in. You get the point. You get out. Is Jesus handing out really complicated end times eschatological? That's what eschatology is, the study of last things. So eschatological would be something relating to end times. But if I said end timesological, it doesn't sound as fancy. So if we were talking about this in eschatological terms, I don't think that Jesus is trying to come up with some really rigid structure for us to understand across the ages about how end time stuff is going to go down. I think he is simply trying to get one single point across. And what is that point? Boom! I don't really care about any of this. I need to be
Happy.
ready. What's the word that he uses to open up this section? Words. Stay dressed for action. That's the point that he's trying to get across with this parable. He's not trying to set up some revelation-like theology for us to map the stars together to know when he's coming back. Right?
We're not supposed to do.
We're not even supposed to do that. Thank you, Grace. Exactly. He is saying, stay dressed. Be ready. Get ready. Which means, when Peter asks next, Peter said, verse 41, Lord, are you telling this parable for us, the disciples, or for all, for everybody? And the Lord said, interesting that Luke specifically talks about, he doesn't say Jesus says here, he says the Lord. Why do you guys think that he's using that specifically? Why is Luke changed from using Jesus said, he said, Jesus said, he said, to Lord said?
Probably because now he thinks, okay, this is definitely God.
Maybe. I think Luke knew when he started writing Luke that this was God.
Make it more important.
Oh, yes. What if I read it? Peter said, Lord, are we telling this parable for us or for all? And the commander said. Does that change a little bit of how you're going to read this? The king said. What's different from that as opposed to, and Jesus said?
Jesus sounds like a name.
Jesus sounds like a name, yeah.
Sounds not as important as Lord.
Boom. When you want to communicate something that's specifically related to authority, you're going to use an authoritative title, right? So commander, king, Lord, that's what this word means. And he says, who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom his master will set over his household, to give them their portion of food at the proper time. Okay, we have a new parable. Okay, it intertwines with this one, but he's going to go a deeper step. So he's taking one parable and he's kind of Venn diagramming it into the next one. Okay, it's not a perfect overlap. Make sense? Yes? Because what's the point of a parable?
Get in, get the line, get out.
Okay, don't linger too long. You get yourself in trouble if you do that. These are not perfect parallels. They're not perfectly overlapping. He's expanding on it, which means that there are other implications. So he says, this is for the person who God has set over a household to take care of other people. Right? How do I know that? To give them their portion of food at the proper time. Right? The wise manager is a servant over other servants. Okay? Is this talking about every servant? No, this is a servant over other servants. We got that? Any ideas who that might be? Huh? Believers? Are believers set over unbelievers? No. We're not like their wise managers, right? So who would a wise manager be? Let's see if we can spot it, because this is a new term, right? We have master, we have servant, we have thief. Now we have wise manager. Let's see if we can figure out who this is.
Holy Spirit.
Nope. I'll just tell you right now. Incorrect. Okay. This wise manager has been put over other servants to serve them, to feed them their food at the proper times. Verse 43. Blessed is the servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that servant says to himself, my master is delayed in coming, and begins to beat the male and female slaves, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful.
The manager is like, it's just people, but he's telling them that the manager over the other people, if you're not, you have to be ready when Jesus comes, when the master comes, because you'll be put with the other side.
Yeah, so this cut in pieces is literally dismember, to saw in two, to rip limb from limb. This is another military execution style stuff, right? Romans were really good at killing people, just saying. So this is another military-esque term. A wise manager, right? If he's wise, if he is found doing what the master expected him to do, he's given everything, right? That's what the manager does, or the master does. He says, manager, you did it, take everything, right? But if he starts beating the people that he was supposed to be in charge of, right? If he starts abusing his underservants, if he starts to get drunk, if he starts to basically neglect every duty that he's been given, he's dismembered. Bad? Anybody want to be dismembered here?
No.
Okay. So who is this wise manager?
People with authority?
Ooh, very good. It is people with authority.
Pastors and elders.
Pastors and elders. Mothers and fathers. Junior high leaders.
That's you.
Really?
Drink more coffee. More coffee.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Holly and I took on this job at the peril of our own lives. I'll say that again. Holly and I, Pastor James, George, Angie, Anna, Abby, we took this role at risk of our own lives. Not just these lives, because yes, you guys get rowdy, but I don't think you guys are going to kill me anytime soon. Fingers crossed. But we take on a responsibility of your well-being, your spiritual well-being, which means our future eternal spiritual lives are on the line when we're here. I don't say that to puff Holly and I up, Pastor James up, George. I don't do that. I tell you this because you need to expect that of your spiritual leaders. You need to expect that your elders, your pastors, they understand the role that they're taking, which means two things. One, give them a break. Pray for them. If they ask you to do something, do it. They likely are not doing it to be mean and capricious. They're probably doing it because they love you and they understand how dire of a situation it is. Two, it means that you are to look out that they are doing what the Word is saying for them to do. Yes? That's true of your parents. That's true of your elders. That's true of your pastors. And yet, there is this contention that happens from the servants to the upper servants, where it's like, well, they're asking me to do this, and they're just doing it to be mean. It's like, no. Maybe, just maybe, they understand the peril that they're asking for. So this first servant, over-servant, is cut into pieces. But then listen. 47, and that servant who knew his master's will, but did not get ready or act according to his will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved a beating will receive a light beating. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required, and from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. I think the point here is that Jesus is warning those who would call themselves Christians, who would call themselves servants of the King. You don't want to take that title. You don't want to be a servant who lives in the house of the master and then squanders it by not doing the will of the master. Because if he comes back and you're doing that which you shouldn't be doing, and especially if you know that you're doing what you shouldn't be doing, punishments will be handed out. And I think, I was talking with Andrew about this too, I think that there is levels of these punishments that get dished out. If you know a lot about the Word, if you know a lot about His will, but you fail to do it, severe beating. If you only know a little bit, less beating. If you don't know any of it, but you still disobey, still punishment. I think that's for two reasons. I think one, it's because I think there is a greater level of wrath poured out upon you. But two, I think it's also because you understand the sweetness of God, and you know what you could have had, but you've rejected it, and you've hardened your own heart. So it's like, yes, there's more that gets poured out on you, but also, you know how sweet God could be. Jesus continues his hard sayings. He says, I came to cast fire on the earth, and would that it were already kindled. You hear what Jesus is saying here? I came to cast fire on the earth. We look back to our sections back here in preparing, right? John the Baptist says, there's one who's coming after me who's going to baptize you with the Spirit, and there's another one who's going to come, and he's also going to come and baptize with fire. Jesus says, how I wish we could already start burning the earth. Which is a weird thing for us to hear from Jesus. Anybody else get uncomfortable when they hear Jesus talking about, I can't wait for wrath of God to be poured out? That's a little uncomfortable. Yes? Jesus is excited for the fire to be cast down on earth. He says, I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how great is my distress until it is accomplished. He's about to go to the cross. He knows it. He's going to drink from that cup. He can't wait for it to be over. Do you think that I have come to give peace on earth? Isn't that what the angels said? Right? Joy to the world. Right? Like, this is the whole point. Peace on earth, goodwill towards men. Right? This is what Jesus came to do. Jesus is like, no. No, I tell you, but rather division. Division is what I bring. Verse 52. For from now on, in one house there will be 5 divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son, son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Scary. We love our parents. We love our brothers and sisters. We love our aunts and uncles. I love my mother-in-law very much. But Jesus and love for Jesus and loyalty to Jesus costs everything. Which means that if it's between a choice of doing what my mother-in-law says, or my mom, or my dad, or Holly, or Ava says to do, and what Jesus says to do, I'm supposed to choose the Jesus one. And this is spoken into a context, a Jewish context, where everybody lives together. And you're expected to take care of your father and your mother. And listen to them. And obey them. Even if you're a grown adult. And all of a sudden, Jesus is saying, that same household that you have with your father and your mother, your daughters, your sons, if it comes down to it, a choice between them and a choice between me, you have to choose me. The cost of following Jesus will cost you everything. He also said to the crowds, when you see the cloud rising in the west, you say at once, a shower is coming, and so it happens. And when you see a south wind blowing, you say, there will be a scorching heat, and so it happens. You hypocrites! You know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time? They can interpret weather patterns, but when they see Jesus performing miracles, doing all the cleansing, all the realizations, all the control of the weather, they're like, oh, well, maybe it's just like a cool rabbi. Neat. Maybe we can get some free food. You idiots, is what he says. And I say that specifically. Holly doesn't like it when I use that word, but the Bible uses the word idiot, so I'll use the word idiot. That's literally what Jesus is talking about. You hypocrites, you idios is the way that it says it. Right? Which sounds very similar to a Spanish word. That is what we're talking about here. You morons don't get the severity of what's happening. And Jesus is pleading with them that they understand what he's asking of them. You can't just traipse about with Jesus. You have to be all in. You have to be dressed for battle. And listen, he gives one final warning here. And why do you not judge for yourselves what is right? As you go with your accuser before the magistrate, make an effort to settle with him on the way, lest he drag you to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and the officer put you in prison. I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the very last penny. We have a last little parable here. We have a magistrate, we have an accuser, we have an officer, and we have you. Here, the accuser is who? Who do you guys think the accuser is here?
Sin?
Nope.
Pharisees.
As you go with your accuser before the magistrate, make an effort to settle with him along the way. What do you think that is?
Satan?
Huh? Satan? No. What?
Your neighbor?
Nope. In this context, the person who is your accuser is actually Jesus. Make an effort to settle with your accuser on your way to the magistrate. Or what will happen? The accuser is going to take you, and is he unjustly going to lie about all the bad things that you've ever done to the judge?
No.
He doesn't have to. You guys ever realize that? You ever realize that in order to condemn you for all eternity, the liar, Satan, doesn't need to bring any sort of evidence towards you other than what's actually happened. The father of lies doesn't need to lie. And so when Jesus comes as the righteous accuser to say, yeah, I know that guy's the father of lies, but I'm the accuser, I'm the father of truth, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Look at all the things that this person has done. No lies need to be made of your life in order to send you to eternity in hell. But make an effort to settle with Jesus along the way. My friends. You guys are my friends. I love you very much. And I want you to know the severity of what your life costs and is what it's worth. Your life is worth so much more than you guys even think or know or want, and yet it is. And following Jesus is so much better than the pains of this world, of the frivolousness of all the things that could be offered. And following Jesus is hard, but worth it. Guys, I know that after junior high, you're going to go into high school. And after high school, you're going to go to college. And by then, you're probably not going to remember like exact words of what I'm saying, even though repetition is the key to learning, and the key to learning is repetition. But I want you guys to know, no matter what, if you have an issue with God or His Word, He's still there. Even if Holly and I, if we die on our drive home from church today, God is still there. God is still faithful. Don't stop asking the questions. Don't stop wrestling with God on what you're supposed to do. We're here for as long as we're here. But if we go away, keep wrestling. The last thing that you guys can do is give up. Your life is worth too much for that. Let's pray.